Blake Lively. Part 7. What is she really like? Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. We're now going to move into examining more of Blake Lively's behaviour, taken from a variety of different sources and from different people. This scrutiny of Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds has been precipitated by the mud-slinging and litigation surrounding It Ends With Us. My analysis of Reynolds has already been completed, with the finding that he is a narcissist. This finding presents the following possible scenarios concerning how Blake Lively has behaved herself. 1. She's actually the victim of a narcissist who has been dragged into a fight by her jealous and envious husband. By way of example, we know that Reynolds showed up unannounced to the set of It Ends With Us, demanding to review the dailies. Lack of boundary recognition, sense of entitlement, assertion of control. And this demand was because Reynolds became envious of Baldoni's on-screen chemistry with Lively, meaning that Reynolds was projecting his own history of falling for co-stars, particularly his ex-wife Scarlett Johansson, and, in turn, was determined to humiliate Baldoni. Accordingly, Lively has become a lieutenant in Reynolds' crusade against Baldoni, and this controlling husband therefore impacts on Lively, with other behaviours outside of the It Ends With Us debacle. In a sense, she's getting dragged along by the behaviour of Reynolds. He's the controlling narcissist, and she is the victim. This is causing her to behave, in some instances, poorly. After all, in many other videos, I've demonstrated how, for instance, an empathic individual can behave in an unpleasant way, cheating on people, lashing out at people because of the control that the narcissist has over them, the lies that they are fed, which they believe, and their own emotional empathy for other people is reduced. The alternative is that she is a narcissist who has actually relished triangulating her husband with Justin Baldoni, prompting such reactions as that of Reynolds demanding to see the dailies. And then, when potentially facing accusation from Reynolds as to what are you playing at, she has then played the innocent victim, painting Baldoni as the predator, smearing. This creates the classic drama triangle of her as the victim, Baldoni as the perpetrator, and Reynolds has the role of rescuer. Accordingly, might this behaviour have been witnessed outside of the It Ends With Us saga? In a sense, this makes it rather difficult to untangle what has gone on with regard to It Ends With Us. Who is the villain? Him? Her? Both of them? Baldoni? Examining the events surrounding It Ends With Us will provide evidence, but of itself doesn't give us the clarity that we are seeking. Instead, we need to examine the behaviours outside of that lawsuit, outside of that production. We need to look at the behaviours outside of It Ends With Us to find out if, without Reynolds, she is actually a different person entirely, or whether she acts in a similar fashion without his involvement and influence. To assist us in determining which outcome it is, we're going to look at Lively's past behaviours before we get to how she's conducted herself in relation to the production of It Ends With Us and the subsequent fallout. Blake Lively has admitted previously to trying to control the narrative around former co-stars years before her explosive legal tussle with Justin Baldoni. She confessed that she poisoned the cast of Gossip Girl against Penn Badgley in an interview from 2009. Lively, who played socialite Serena van der Woodsen, the love interest of Badgley's Dan Humphrey, said she was so upset at his casting that she set about turning everyone against him. Such a response certainly denotes an absence of emotional empathy to behave that way. It also suggests that there might be some kind of threat to control, that she reacts so badly to somebody else being cast in a particular position. It's not as if Badgley has a reputation for being a complete shit, so that this might be an understandable reaction. Oh God, not him. But he doesn't have such a reputation. Indeed, he's viewed as being a rather decent man. Accordingly, just because she's upset with the appointment of someone when she's meant to be a professional tends to suggest that there is something untoward taking place. Not only is she upset at that, she goes further. She's motivated to try and turn people against him. She explained, "I was so upset that they hired him. I actually poisoned the whole cast against him. But then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a really nice, charming person. Almost immediately, I realised that too, but it took me about a week to admit it." She went on to insist that there was no animosity between the cast on set, claiming, "We hang out after filming. We actually look forward to spending time together outside of work." Now, what is also interesting about this is that rather than keep her mouth shut about the admission that she sought to poison the crew, what she's trying to do, it appears to me, is to suggest, hey, look, I'm actually a nice person because I did something wrong, and I recognise that I was wrong, and he's a really decent guy, so mea culpa, it's my fault. Might this be a genuine admission whereby she realises, actually, I made a mistake, silly me, I'm putting my hands up to it, I ought not to have done it. That she's exhibiting emotional empathy by talking about this, and that she's demonstrating accountability for her behaviours by admitting to having done something wrong. After all, narcissists aren't usually known for admitting that they are in the wrong. Or might this be an example of false contrition, utilised for the purposes of facade management and the assertion of control in the moment by trying to convince people, hey, I'm a really good person, after all, I fucked up in this regard, but I can put my hand up to it. We will have to make that determination. Badgley and his co-stars have remained silent in the wake of what has happened concerning Lively and It Ends With Us, which renewed rumours of tensions behind the scenes of the hit series, which ran for 6 seasons. There were reports at the time that Lively and Leighton Meester, who played Blair Waldorf, were not friends, something I'm going to come to a little bit later. Interestingly, neither Meester or Badgley follow Lively on Instagram. Is that simply because they're not interested, or is that a statement of disapproval? We now consider the observations of a hairstylist. A Hollywood stylist has opened up about his experiences working with a number of celebrities over the years, revealing who, next to Blake Lively, was one of his worst ever celebrity encounters. Emmanuel Miller, a hairstylist to the stars, sat down on the What It Was Like podcast and discussed what it was like working with Gossip Girl actress Blake Lively. He stated that she was dismissive. He also explained, I got the feeling when I first met her, oh no, is this another Anne Hathaway situation? He talks about how Hathaway didn't speak to him for 4 months because the way she was dismissive with me from the get-go. He explained that working with Blake Lively was bad, although working with Anne Hathaway was worse. A small instance, but demonstrative of dismissive and haughty behaviours towards somebody who's just providing a service. Next, there's the behaviour towards an intern. An individual on TikTok called Jamie explained, I specifically at one time worked with Blake Lively, so I want to colour in what's going on here. She explained that she worked with Lively during a press junket for the Sisterhood of the Travelling Pants, while interning at Fuse, which was a competitor to MTV. Jamie noted that Terrible Lively actually made her cry. As an intern, we were allowed on set, but as someone who grew up on set, you don't speak on set, Jamie continued. It is quiet on set because obviously the people with the microphones need to be heard, right? So your job was just to fetch things that various people needed. That day, it was my job to hand out these little water bottles to anyone that needed them. Jamie noted as Lively and 3 of the girls from the movie were walking to the green room, they had to pass her in a narrow hallway. She states that she didn't even speak to Lively, but then shared her shock when all the interns were called upstairs after the segment and chastised for being unprofessional. Jamie was even more stunned when she was asked to stick around after the meeting. She, specifically Blake, alleged that I was unprofessional and treated her like a fan. Jamie claimed, "I want to reiterate, I did not speak to her. I had no idea who she was. She had not done Gossip Girl yet. This was her breakout thing. I didn't even know her name." She understands that Lively went and complained about her. Jamie stated this made her feel extremely weirded out and that she cried on the train home due to feeling mortified. "Not only did I not treat her unprofessionally, but nobody to my experience that I saw spoke to her." She felt compelled to speak out about her experience and the current situation involving Baldoni. This girl has a pattern of flipping the narrative, playing the victim, and then leveraging her status to actually bully and mistreat other people. Accordingly, here is an intern holding a lowly position and finds herself the victim of what would appear to be a revision of history, a need to chastise, and belittlement. All behaviours which support an absence of emotional empathy, behaviours which seem to be indicative of somebody's need to assert control over another individual. Hitherto, we've had Blake Lively portray herself as somebody that has a wonderful idyllic marriage and that has a fantastic and close relationship with her family. But these individuals, people that have worked with her, are starting to show a different side of her. And it's also important to note that this is being demonstrated without any obvious influence of the narcissist that is Ryan Reynolds. In part 8, we're going to continue the examination of Lively's behaviour, looking at some video footage. Join me there.